Hello everybody, I'm Evan Kamikow and this is the Toss Up. Now that 2020 is over, it's time for all college and professional sports to come back, and this is the place to be. Each week, join myself and an expert-line panel dissect the latest sports news from some of the nation's most elite college programs here in Bloomington to the biggest stadiums and stages around the world. Stick around because we have a great show for you coming up on the Toss Up. April in Georgia means one thing and one thing only. The Masters is finally here. Although the 2020 edition of the tournament was held in November, the 2021 tournament is back in its normal time of year. With patrons back in Augusta, azaleas blooming, the best tournament of the year is finally here. Whether it's defending champion Dustin Johnson trying to go for the repeat, the reemergence of Valero Open champion Jordan Spieth going for 2 titles in 2 weeks, or Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm, or JT, Justin Thomas, chasing their first green jacket, this is sure to be a memorable tournament. Joining me this week on the panel to talk all things Masters is Stefan Krajisnik and Hank Joseph. Guys, let's toss up the Masters. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, so Hank, we'll start with you. How excited are you that the Masters is back in April, the regular time of year what it should be?
Well, it's only right that I mention I am from Georgia, born and raised, so the Masters holds a different kind of place in my heart, and seeing it in November just never really felt right. It just didn't really feel like the players were getting it going until the weekend came around. And you know, you've got the fans back, you've got the sights, you've got the beautiful views of Augusta National Golf Club. So to say I'm excited would be an understatement, Evan.
Stefan?
Yeah, no, I think it definitely just seems right. It kind of gives you a sense of things starting to return to normalcy, obviously, as you mentioned, getting the patrons back. And it's just right that the Masters are in April. That's how it should be. Obviously, I was very thankful that we got to watch it in November last year because I'd rather that than there be no Masters. But to have it back in April at Augusta, it just feels right. And watching the first round a little bit today, it was a little return to normalcy for sure.
And it's one thing to see it in April. You know, obviously, Tiger Woods isn't competing this year. You know, all thoughts and prayers go out to him as he's recovering from the car accident. But I think that, you know, seeing the Masters back in April, it's not in November, everything's blooming. Hank, you said it best. I mean, who can go wrong with the Masters in April? It's the best time of year for golf.
I mean, absolutely, and it just feels like, you know, the gloom of the winter is starting to brush away, and then what better way to start off the spring season than with the Masters?
So, Stefan, what is your favorite non-golf part of the Masters?
There's actually a couple things that came to mind. The first one I was thinking of today is I just kind of like the aesthetic of the colors that they use at the Masters. I mean, you turn it on, everything is green and yellow, and they perfectly fit to the theme, and they know how to play it right. And then I found out today that it's actually really relaxing if you like take a nap with the Masters on in the background for a little bit.
Absolutely.
So that actually might be my favorite thing now, being away from the course.
100%.
Hank?
You know, for me, a lot of trophy presentations are really important, but I mean, everybody knows what the green jacket means to the golf community, and to be honest, there's nothing better than getting to watch Tiger Woods put that green jacket on for the 4th or 5th time. So that would be it for me, is just getting to see, you know, the happiness and the feeling of bliss and final accomplishment, you know, when you get to put that jacket on. It really does mean something.
Yeah, I think in a normal year, too, one of my favorite parts is the par 3 tournament. Unfortunately, they didn't hold it this year. They didn't hold it last year. It's the day where all the families go out, they play, they get to walk around. I think there's really nothing better at the Masters. You know, yeah, the azaleas, the aesthetic, it's awesome. You know, there's no greater golf tournament, in my opinion, than the Masters. But I think just overall, the fact that it's in April this year and we're back to normal, I think that's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's the Masters. It's the best players on tour every single year, and that's just how it should be.
And as Hank was talking about, I mean, he's obviously from Georgia, so he kind of knows it better, but it also says a lot that, you know, people from outside of Georgia, that when we feel that it's right for it to be in April, then you can only imagine how people from the state feel about it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Must have been really weird watching in November then.
It was weird, and, you know, I really, it was a week after my birthday, and I said, Mom, Dad, you know, you guys have one job this year, you know, one job. It's get me tickets to the Masters. And I love them to death, but they didn't get the job done. So, I was a little bit disappointed. But, yeah, it feels right. You can only say it so many times, and I'm sure that the golfers feel the exact same way.
And the Masters, to your point, it is so hard to get tickets to the Masters. I know my dad has been searching for so long to try to get there because that's the one sporting event on both of our bucket lists that we both haven't crossed off yet, is to actually go to the Masters. So, speaking of the Masters, a little more about the actual tournament itself is the food there. It's something that's renowned. Everyone knows about it. So, Hank, here's the question to you. What is the food from the Masters that you haven't had that you would love to try?
I think the easy answer here for me is the pimento cheese sandwich. I mean, it looks delicious every single time I see it on TV. I see people eating it. You can really just see their eyes just sink right into that pimento cheese sandwich. They love the taste of it. So that's absolutely what I would have to order first. And, it's only $1.50. You can't really get something much better than that.
Yeah, it's hard to top that, especially with how well you did describing how good that is. I think whatever Tiger Woods decides to have as his Champions Dinner, I think is what I would want to eat. I feel like he knows what he's doing, and he's had enough of these where I know that he's going to line up something that's going to smack if I'm there. So as long as Tiger is back and if Tiger's winning, whatever he's serving, I'm getting that.
Sure.
Well, DJ Dustin Johnson, defending champion, got to pick his meals. It was sea bass and steak. So sea bass or steak? I mean, that's a tough toss-up for the DJ meal.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. No Masters winner can ever go wrong picking steak. And then, a lot of them like to pick something like lobster, maybe a little surf and turf. But I think I would have to go with steak. It's got that nice marinated flavor right off the Augusta National Grill. So that's what I would be picking without a doubt.
I hate to just agree, but I'm definitely going with the steak there too.
I would go either. I'm a big, I love fish, love steak. I mean, I could talk about food for hours. But honestly, my food that I would eat at the Masters that we haven't said yet is the popcorn. I'd love to just try what Augusta popcorn tastes like. Because I feel like everything, if you put Augusta in front of it, has such more of a meaning to it. Because it's like, ooh, it's so exclusive. Like, it's Augusta. Never been there. I want to eat it. And like on Fanatics, you can literally order a taste of Augusta, I saw. So I was like, it's $150-ish bucks. Might be worth it for Sunday, but I mean, now it's way too late. So, Stefan, you mentioned this earlier in the show. You talked about patrons a little bit. I want to bring that back. What does it mean that the patrons and the fans are back at the tournament this year?
Yeah, I think it just adds an extra element. It kind of gets the athletes going a little bit more. I mean, you have some kind of motivation when there's people, even if they're just giving you a little golf clap. It motivates you a little more. And some of the best moments in Masters history, or just in golf history, have come, with a lot of interactions in the fan, whether it be, hitting a ball out of where the patrons are standing, or you think back to some of the amazing shots that Tiger Woods has had, and just the moments that the crowd reactions bring. I mean, even if it's just a limited capacity, and obviously you could kind of tell today it's much smaller than there would normally be, it adds a different element that all sporting events have been missing for the past year or so, and it's cool to have it back at the Masters.
Yeah, 100%. And without fans, you can't have Rory McIlroy hitting his dad on the 8th hole.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, that's obviously something that you just can't get back. But yeah, I mean, like you said, motivation, and then it really seems like the momentum. When you get to Saturday and Sunday at the Masters, that is just a completely different level of professional golf. And when you've got fans there, I mean, there was one guy on 16 today. Every single guy that hit it off the tee, even if they hit in the water, he was just really, really fired up, really positive guy. So, I mean, there's a lot of fans like that, especially in the golf world, who just kind of want you to look at them, notice them.
Yeah.
And that's just so fun to watch.
Yeah, and there's nothing better than seeing, the golfers when they finish 18 walking towards the clubhouse, and you just see the kids running up to them and everything. And I think, that just adds such an extra thing, is if you're a golfer, you're going to want to give the autograph to a kid and be there. It's so different hitting a ball and not hearing any claps or any noise afterwards than, hitting a ball and hearing cheers, and the second it hits off, you hit it, everyone's screaming, it's a good shot, you're getting fired up, you're walking down the green, or towards the green and towards your shot. I think, there's really nothing better than that.
It makes it a little easier when you're watching too, when you hear a reaction. I felt like last year sometimes I'd watch it, be like, I have no idea where the ball went because nobody's reacting at all. And then today you hear some claps, you're like, okay, I'm assuming he's getting into the fairway or something close. So it definitely adds a little element to it.
So we've talked about all of the aesthetics and everything that goes into Masters. Let's actually now talk about golf. My first question, Dustin Johnson won the Masters last year. He's the defending champion. Hank, do you think he's going to repeat this year?
No. I hate to be so blunt about it, but the Masters is, it's something that you just don't really repeat at. It is every single year you're getting golfers' best shots because of how special this tournament is. So I don't think that he'll repeat. Do I think that he'll be in the conversation and at least make it to the weekend? I certainly hope so, because Dustin Johnson playing in the weekends is really great for golf. It really adds another level of excitement. But no, I do not think he will repeat this weekend. He shot 2 over today. He on 18, he just kind of looked like he was getting ready to, you know, take off and go in the shower or whatever he was thinking about.
When he was walking off the course, they were like, he didn't look so good.
No,
at the end.
yeah, and he just, I mean, the jips happen. You know, that's something that in the Masters, you can't take a single eyeball off of what you're doing, because every single little detail, every mound on that putting green makes that much of a difference.
Right. I mean, it's definitely fair to have been exhausted coming off the course today with what the course was presenting. I'll agree. I don't think DJ is going to repeat this year. That doesn't mean he's not going to have a great tournament.
Sure.
I think he's going to make the cut, and he'll be in contention come the weekend. But like you mentioned, it's so hard to repeat. And golf, there's just so many factors that go into it, so many golfers that are going to make a run for it. So many young players this year, along with some veterans that have never won the Masters before. You know, they're going to have a little chip on their shoulder. We saw the start that Justin Rose had. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I think come Sunday, it's exciting because I think we're going to have a lot of people in contention. And I think DJ will be one of those people. But I just don't see him doing it again this year. And especially the round he put together, or I should say the tournament he put together in November was, you know, probably some of the best we've seen in Augusta ever. And it's going to be very hard to duplicate that. And I think this time there's going to be some more people battling.
And it's so interesting you bring up the run he had last year, because he shot -20 to win the tournament. The second runner-up was at -15, I believe.
Right.
And if you look at the conditions in, you know, November than it is today, it's a lot easier to play in November at Augusta than it is April at Augusta. You know, you have a lot less grass, a lot less rough. Everything's now kind of grown in and kind of, you know, starting. So I agree with you guys. I don't think he's going to win. But as long as he's there over the weekend, he certainly has a shot.
Well, and if he does win, does he throw the jacket in the air and then go, you know, jump right through it? How does he put the jacket on himself? You know, that would be quite the inquiry we'd have to see to find out. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the course is way different. You know, I mean, the stroke differential today from November in the first round was 3 strokes, I think.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. So we'll talk about another player, Jordan Spieth, won last week's Valero Open. You know, a lot of people have him as one of their favorites to win this weekend. Stefan, do you think he's going to win?
No, I don't think he's going to win either. So at this point, I've basically eliminated everyone that can win this tournament.
Pick of the field against those two guys.
Right. No, I think it's good. It's good to see Jordan playing well for the game. I think when he had his really successful run, it was really interesting to watch, and I think it brought some excitement because that was kind of when Tiger Woods was down, so people were kind of losing their attention in golf, and having someone like Jordan Spieth was exciting, and I think it would be exciting if he brought a little bit of that back. I don't think he's going to win this weekend, but I do hope that his win last week can kind of get some momentum going for him, and we see him in more contentions in some of these majors coming up. And kind of like DJ, I expect him to make the cut and be in contention as well.
Yeah, and when Spieth swings the golf club now, you can just tell that he's got that confidence. He's got that swagger back. He still talks after he hits a bad shot, and he said, "Come on, Jordan." You know, he still does that, which is what we love. You know, you love to see that. You love to see golfers be human. And Spieth is human, which is why, you know, going back-to-back the Valero Open and winning this week is a huge, huge task. And, you know, I don't think he will win either. But like you said, if we can get those two guys competing on the weekend, I mean, Spieth did really bring he was really an energizer bunny for the PGA Tour, you know, in 2014 and 15. So if he can try and find some of that magic, we saw it last week. I mean, he was hitting shots that, you know, holing out hole-in-ones and doing it from 220 yards in the same tournament. So if he can get back to that level, you know, consistently, then golf's in a really great place.
Yeah, I mean, he had a gorgeous chip shot today, if anyone's seen it. I believe it was on like 14-15, and an eagle on a par 5, and that put him back. He was +1. You know, then he was -1. So hopefully, I'm so up in the air with Spieth. Do I think he's going to win? Not necessarily. Would I want to put my money on him? I don't know. I think I'm very in between with Spieth, but I don't know. I feel like my take's going to come later in the show, though. But, you know, we'll move on. Hank, you mentioned earlier as well that Rory McIlroy hit his dad. So I want to talk about Rory and just his, you know, weekend in general and really his game in general, because he hasn't been on. So him not being on a lot for, you know, the last a lot of tournaments. What does that mean? What are your thoughts on Rory for this weekend?
Well, it kind of feels like as Jordan Spieth started regaining his traction, Rory McIlroy just started down the mudslide. And I mean, it really has been difficult to watch because everybody wants to see Rory play well. You know, he's kind of like the son of golf, just the way he came up being really young, winning the British Open. But he just mentally, you can tell he's completely blocked out at the Masters. He can never get in a rhythm, and if he does, it's Saturday and it's too late to make a move. So Rory McIlroy, he just has to figure, I think he's got to figure out how to mentally play this golf course before he can physically play it, because you just can't be hitting your dad. I don't.
Well said.
If I hit my dad, I'd be grounded for quite some time.
Well said. Stop it. I
think my dad would be okay if I hit him. As long as I was playing at the Masters and I had that kind of money, I think my dad would stand in the middle of the driving range if he had to.
Sure, he can give him a bandage or two, on the leg.
That'll be fine. But no, it has been interesting to see kind of just Rory. Obviously, his struggles at the Masters are one thing, but even just overall, he was playing pretty well when the pandemic golf kind of started. And despite there being no fans and stuff, he was always in contention in the top 10 in some of those tournaments. And then you kind of saw as the year went on, him kind of drop off, and it's kind of gone into the start of 2021. And now, obviously, the first round of the Masters, he's struggling again. You have to wonder how much. I mean, it's just exhausting. They play so much, and now when you're playing with no fans, like we talked about before, there's a little less motivation with that. And the game kind of just gets exhausting at some point, especially when you're struggling like Rory has been. Yeah. And you kind of feel like maybe he needs a break or something to get away. Obviously, you're not going to take your break during Masters week. You're going to be out there playing. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I feel like we talked about Spieth and DJ. I mean, Rory's another one of those guys, maybe even Justin Thomas, where if they're in contention in the weekend, they always have a chance regardless of how many strokes back they may be. Maybe that doesn't come this week for Rory, and maybe he doesn't even make the cut. But it'll be definitely interesting to see if he can start to turn around a little bit in the tournaments that come and maybe contend a little more in some of the other majors this year.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Rory. Coming up after the break, Noah Harrison joins the show to fill you in on the Masters connection to Indiana. Then we're making our predictions and talking more golf. Stick around. We'll be right back. Now joining the show to give you some insight on the Masters tournament and its connection to Indiana is our IUSTV reporter, Noah Harrison. Noah, over to you.
Thanks, Evan. While the golfers gear up for the Masters, let's talk about some Hoosier affiliates who have also experienced Augusta National a time or two. Sam Carmichael competed in the 1962 Masters. In 1981, Carmichael began his 23-year-long journey here at IU. As the men's head coach, he won 2 Big Ten championships, and for the women, he brought home 7 Big Ten titles. While in Bloomington, Carmichael received 7 Big Ten Coach of the Year, 4 NCAA Regional Coach of the Year, and the 1987 NCAA National Coach of the Year awards. Coach Carmichael was inducted into the Indiana Hall of Fame in 1973 with 7 U.S. Open championships and the Indiana PGA Player of the Year awards. In 1976, Frank Fuzzy Zoller was the name tied to the Masters as he won his green jacket, his very first time competing. Zoller was one of only 3 golfers to ever do that. In addition, he was recently named the Indiana's top golfer, with 10 PGA Tournament event wins and 1 U.S. Open in 1984. Although he did not attend IU, his love for his home state of Indiana has felt within the Hoosier Nation as Zoller helped design the new Fowl Golf Course right here on our campus. And finally, John Spider Miller, a 1973 IU grad, competed in the 1996 and 1998 Masters. During his time at IU, he worked at the golf course alongside the coach. He once said, "I didn't have time to play, so I just hit balls." Well, hitting balls led him to win 2 U.S. Mid-Amateur Championships, multiple Walker Cup appearances, and the title captain of the U.S. team in 2015 and 2017. The accomplishment, he claims, the ultimate honor. Back to you, Evan.
Thanks, Noah. Now it's time for some quick fire predictions. Guys, I'm going to ask you some questions. You got about 30 seconds to a minute each to answer. You think you're up to the challenge?
Sure.
All right, cool.
Absolutely.
First question. What former champion has the best chance to win again this year? Stefan, we'll start with you.
A little bit of a stretch because he kind of fell off late that first round there, but I'm going to go with Bubba Watson. I like what he started with this first round, and I think come weekend he's going to be in contention here.
Yeah, and I'm 100% going to go with Patrick Reed. You know, he's sitting clubhouse 2 under, so he loves to be hated, and it just seems like this is kind of his stage. You know, he went to Augusta College, obviously, so I think that he might be fixing for another jacket.
Both really good answers. I was going to go with Spieth. I think that for some reason I'm big on Spieth. I don't know. I think a friend talked me into it this week. He was like, he won last weekend. He's, playing his best golf in maybe years. But you never know because Sundays at Spieth for Jordan on the back 9, they haven't been too pretty. So I'm hoping that Spieth is going to be good, but I don't really know.
You didn't have to remind us. You didn't have to remind us.
But it's always good to remind people.
Of
I mean, you got to remember how he did. So next question, Hank. What former vet do you think will miss the cut?
I most certainly think that Lee Westwood will miss the cut. And I think that a big part of it is not having his wife on the bag this week. I think it's either his son or his cousin, or is it his son? I just immediately recognized when he came out on the first tee that it wasn't his wife. And, his wife is kind of his rock psychologically as well. So I just don't think Lee Westwood's going to be able to corral the ball striking to make it to the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think he's 27, so I don't know if you want to consider him a vet quite yet, but I'm going with Bryson. I don't think he's going to make it through the weekend. I know he was kind of back and forth in the first round, and he'll be kind of close to that cut line if he continues that tomorrow. But I don't think Bryson's going to do it. I just don't think Augusta plays well this style.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood, someone a little different. He, had some good shots today, but he hasn't been playing well lately. I think that this is a hard tournament, and a lot of the guys up there right now who start at the top, they're not going to finish at the top. But for some reason, I'm just going to go with Fleetwood. I think that he's a guy that is very hit or miss on different weekends, or, he'll be in there. I mean, I could be completely wrong right now, and it could be someone different. It could be Rory for all I know.
It could be Rory.
Rory has the best likelihood to not make the cut.
Right.
Yeah, just Nike's just struggling right now, with their play. Jason Day is probably not going to make the cut either. Maybe it's a branding thing. I don't know. Maybe the Masters just doesn't like the swoosh.
I'm kind of worried. I got Nike on right now. I'm worried about what's going to end up happening on this show to me now.
I don't know.
Man,
Light could fall. The golf ball could roll off somehow. I don't know. Something bad could happen. So, Stefan, which under 25 player has the best chance to win this weekend?
I like Victor Hovland a lot. He had a tough start with a triple bogey on hole 1, and we've all been there before, so I related a lot to that. But his turnaround to kind of maintain the course the rest of the first round, I like what he's carrying into the second round here, and I think come Sunday he's going to be in contention still.
I think I'm going to go with Sung Jae Im. It's a guy who just seems like he's never out of contention. He only shot even today. But I just think that he's really sneaky, and I think that he can put together 3 good holes, and just like that in the Masters, you're right back in it.
Yeah, I was going to go with Hovland too. I really like the way he's been playing lately. He's been playing really well. He had a strong finish last weekend, and I think, again, like you said, triple bogey to start, but then carried himself really nicely from 2 to 17, and he put himself in a place where he could make a run at it. So, Hank, we talked about the under 25 players. Let's talk about the over 25 players. Who do you think has the best chance to win that's over 25 that has not been mentioned yet on the show?
That has not been
mentioned yet?
Well, I'm going to say Mr. Justin Rose, without a doubt, because of how well he played today. I mean, he carved up the back 9 and carved up 9 as well. But he just is playing so well. He had to withdraw from the players before the tournament even started, and then the tournament before that he withdrew from, he had shot 71-68 in the first 2 rounds. So Justin Rose, it seems like he's got it all, and if he's healthy, he's gonna be pretty hard to beat on Sunday.
Yeah, taking the leader after the first round is kind of an easy move there on your part.
Yeah,
makes it a little tougher for me.
He's up by 4 strokes.
But this is my chance to fight for my boy Tony Finau. I think this is the year. It's finally his time to shine. Listen, he's very inconsistent. He was up and down in the first round, but I believe Tony Finau 2021 Masters is his year.
I like the Tony Finau pick. I think that it's an interesting pick because he always seems to be there towards the end.
He's a lock for the top 10.
I like him to pick number 2. I like him to get number 2 because I think that's where he'll.
Because Finau's a guy who has an insane drive, and he's always there until till the Sunday of every tournament. It seems like where he's there, he's in contention. this could be the year he wins, then somehow, some way he falls apart, or not even falls apart. The other guys just outplay him.
Right.
But my pick is going to be Justin Thomas. I think if any guy's going to win, we haven't mentioned JT on the show besides in the monologue yet. So I think Justin Thomas is going to find a way to win. I love JT. I think he's one of my favorite golfers on tour right now. And that's just who I'm going to go with, is just JT, who would be that over 25 player to win. So here it is. No holding back. Hank, we'll start with you. Who is your Masters champion? We'll start with who is your champion before day one and who is your champion now after day one.
Well, before day one, it was who you just mentioned, Justin Thomas. I mean, as far as ball striking goes, he is the best on tour right now. I don't really think it's much of a debate. I liked Colin Morikawa as well, just because it seems like the young guys sometimes can just overpower that golf course. And I can't pick Justin Rose. You said, you go ahead, Steven. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me.
Well, before the tournament started, my pick was Tony Finau, and if I can't pick Justin Rose for a winner here, then I'll stick with Tony Finau. He knows what it takes. He knows Augusta. He's kind of got to get a little more confident in himself on Sundays sometimes, but I think he do it. I like you mentioned, Morikawa and Hovland. It's interesting to see from the young guys just. As much as they do overpower, they also know how to play the course very smart, which is not something you always expect from young players. Sometimes they get overly aggressive at Augusta.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about guys that have some experience at Augusta, I'm going with Tony still.
All right, I'm back. I'm going to go with Brian Harmon. I just really like the way he plays the game. Again, if we're talking about ball striking, he leaves about 20 to 25 yards off the tee because he just doesn't try and overpower the golf course. But he's a really, really, really smooth putter, and technique-wise, his irons are, again, some of the best in the game right now.
Yeah, I would say mine before day one would either be Spieth or Morikawa. Like I've said a lot of times already, I'm very heavy on Spieth. I like the back-to-back for some reason.
It sounds like maybe you should put some money on Spieth.
Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't.
The odds
I don't know.
are going to
It
be
could
pretty
help
darn
me. The
good
odds
right
are definitely
now.
going.
Yeah.
The odds could be good right now. I think he was plus 950 before the weekend. But after day one, Hideki Matsuyama has not been mentioned yet. And I think that he was -3 today, had a good showing. I think if he keeps it up, he could be a guy to win. And I think, I wouldn't be super surprised if he pulls out the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, getting your first major championship win has happened at the Masters multiple times. And I mean, people never really like to talk about Danny Willett other than the fact that he just got really lucky one year. But I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. Sometimes you're just feeling it. Sergio did it 2 years ago. So it's definitely doable. I think Hideki is going to be in a good place heading into the weekend.
Having Hideki and Justin Rose both at the top of the leaderboard after round one sure sounds about right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, guys, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Mom, Dad, please give me tickets next year. I'm begging you guys.
I guess
I could get 3.
I guess I should apologize to my dad for saying that I would hit him. I don't really fully mean that, but if it gets me Masters money, then we can talk about that.
Well, Steph and Hank, thank you guys so much for joining the show, and that does it for this week's episode. Be sure to continue the discussion on our Twitter and Instagram pages at IUSTV Sports. You can always give any suggestions for the show and ask any questions you might have. Toss it up, find out if we'll catch it, and we'll see you next week.